Oh, if Ken Davis says it, it's funny. But if we say it, you send an email to complain.
Oh, thanks.
Can't say that on Christian radio.
We've kind of had this long-form joke going for a while, but it's not really a joke. It's very true. On family life, and I think in Christian radio in general, if you have somebody who is funny and loved, like Ken Davis say something, or maybe Pastor Greg Laurie says something, it could be a joke that's a little on the edgier side. And if Teresa or I said it, well, we'd get angry emails, there'd be angry letters, there'd be an uproar. But because Ken Davis said it, it's Ken Davis. Come on. Cut him some slack.
I'm Therese Main. He's Jesse Gable. Together, we host Main and Gable, an afternoon show on Family Life, a network of radio stations across New York and Pennsylvania. And yes, we do play Lighten Up for Ken Davis. I've been thinking about this for so long, and I think there's one reason at the very core of why this is, why Ken can get away with things that we can't.
He's funnier.
No. I think it's because familiarity breeds judgment, not grace. I mean, think about it. You could have a kid who misbehaves at home all the time. You take them to church, you put them into the child care program, and when you pick them up, what does the child care volunteer say? Your child was so well behaved.
Oh, yeah.
The entire time. We tend to save, our harshest moments for the people we're most familiar with. And I think that's why. Proximity creates scrutiny. Ken Davis isn't in your small group. You've never seen Ken Davis at your church. You may not have ever shaken his hand like Jesse and I, who you hear on every single day. So the fact that you know us better maybe makes you think that it's okay to be a little bit more critical of us or to hold us to a higher standard. In that way, Jesse, we should be flattered.
Well, I was thinking about this. I was going to come at this from a very critical angle and be like, well, if you would criticize something that Teresa and I said, you ought to criticize, if Ken Davis or Greg Laurie says it too, what's this double standard? But I got to thinking, this isn't such a alien issue that I can't see myself falling into. There are a lot of times where if a person that I respect or if a person that I look up to or that I want to be friends with, if they say something or do something that's questionable, I will not really judge them for it. I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess it's cool because this person that I like did it. And, you go through that growing up. You go through that in school. I think as adults, we're guilty of that too. So maybe when somebody starts shooting spitballs at us because we did something, that we couldn't get away with, it's not so different from some of the ways that I behave.
I think we can confuse platform with spiritual maturity. You might look at a guy like Ken Davis and think, well, he's nationally known, he's vetted, he's approved. And so if he says something, he must have meant it in love. Oh, he's earned the right to say that. Oh, he probably meant it to be deeper than it came across. But when someone like you or I, who maybe doesn't have that same level of platform, says it, maybe there's a little bit more spiritual liberty to say well, is that really appropriate? Should they really be saying that? Are they, have they earned the right to do that?
Ken Davis can talk about poop. You, I don't know. We're not that close.
Right. We're probably going to get in trouble just for saying that on the podcast. But there is a scripture in James that says, if you show special attention to the man wearing fine clothes, have you not discriminated among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? That's in James 2:3-4. So fine clothes is not necessarily what this is about, but could it be microphones and book deals and big stages?
Yeah.
Do we judge those people differently than we do other people? We create this hierarchy where platform equals permission, and I'm not sure that is okay, which begs the question of, should we be able to get away with more, or should we be holding the national figures to a tighter rein? And that's an answer I'm not sure I really want to delve into.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to human nature. again, when there's somebody you look up to or really admire in some way or respect, they kind of subconsciously dictate the way that you ought to behave. So the stuff that they like, you think you ought to like. The stuff that they say, you think you ought to say. And I definitely think there is something to admire, of course, about people like Ken Davis and Greg Laurie. I don't want to keep using specifically Ken as the scapegoat example guy here, but he's a great case of it.
He's really effective at communicating because he can use humor. And humor is one of those things that can get sticky. You know, it's easy to offend somebody with humor. It's easy for humor to cross the line. It's easy for humor to have double meaning, you know, and all of those things. But that is also a way that he kind of breaks down the walls to be able to get people to hear his deeper message. And I think we try to do that too on Main and Gable. And we hear from a lot of people like, oh, your show's fun. You know, we like to, and we want to make it a comfortable place where everyone feels like they belong. Like we make fun of ourselves, we make fun of situations that we're in as a way to help people feel more accepted. You know, there are times where my pastor makes jokes that the church will laugh at. And I think if we did that on the show, we would get,
it would be bad.
In so much trouble. But he totally can, because he's like, I don't know how he's earned that, but he's earned that. And so I don't know if it makes me feel better or worse that people kind of hold us to a higher standard.
Well, there's, of course, I don't think it's as simple as, is this okay to say or is it not okay to say? Human speech and communication is so complicated. Who's it coming from? How are they saying it? Who are they saying it to? There's so many different layers you have to think about. And I love this one verse from Romans 14. It's verse 4. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls. I love that because it says, listen, Jesse Gable will be accountable for every word he says before God one day. Whether or not I crossed the line when I joked about this thing on the air, I'll answer for it one day. I will answer for it.
One day.
You can, write your letters or whatever, but Jesse will be upheld before the Lord one way or another. And of course, there are definitely areas, I don't think that applies to all kinds of sin. Like if you see a brother and sister who is obviously walking in a really dark place and walking in sin and has evil in their life, yeah, that's not something we can go, oh, well, don't pass judgment on the servant of another. They'll answer to God one day. We can call that out. But when it comes to these things that are so complicated in human speech, and one of those sort of gray areas where we have to approach it with some wisdom and some mercy and some sober judgment, and also remember that, yeah, we're all going to answer to God for the things we say. Let's not be too careless about it.
The church does not suffer from a lack of truth tellers. It suffers from a lack of grace givers. And when I read that, it was like, yeah, that hits. And also with me, I need to be a person who gives a lot more grace than calls out, behavior that I think, not that the Bible thinks, that I think is out of line. When you turn on the radio, you want authenticity, then you have to allow humanity. If you want honesty, then we can't be punished for being honest and for being real. And you know what? If we want to look more like Jesus, I think we need to maybe laugh a little bit more and judge a little bit less. I don't think Jesus was the kind of person who took himself too seriously in non-spiritual matters.
Yeah.
He just kind of strikes me as the kind of guy who would be more concerned about whether or not a person felt welcome in his presence than maintaining the formality of the day.
Yeah.
And so there will be times where Jesse and I will let you down. Probably Jesse more than me. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa. Hey now.
But we're just going to ask for grace because we are real people living our real lives on the radio. And we also have real feelings. And so keep that in mind when you write your angry letters to our boss, because sometimes they hurt our feelings and we're just doing our very best. And so when you hear us maybe miss the mark now and then, before you send an email, maybe just take a minute to pray. Ask God to show us where we may have fallen short, and ask him if you really need to take that step to say something,
Yeah.
or if maybe it's the kind of thing that you can go, oh, they're just human. I'm going to let this one pass.
Okay, so 3 guys with horrendous BO walk into a bar, okay? No, this is going to go great. You got to hear me out.
Wait. Can't say that on Christian radio.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, you could subscribe, maybe. And if you really liked it, you could always say so by making a gift to Family Life, the ministry this podcast is a part of. Just go to familylife.org and find out more about what we do.
We'd like to thank our special guest producer this week, Mitch Trubisky.
Let's go, Mitch.
You didn't drop the ball. Did you know that Family Life offers a variety of podcasts? Get up to date with Family Life news, including the Noon Report and the 5 o'clock reports. There's If That Makes Sense, a conversation for Christians in their 20s. They're all free and on demand at familylife.org/podcast.